Mariano Agmi with the final bell, and I'm very happy to be joined by Irvin Gonzalez, who is 16-2 with 12 knockouts. Irvin, how's it going, man?
Going good. Going
Good,
good.
good. Welcome to the show. I know you have a big fight coming up in a couple of weeks. How is your training going for your fight against Kevin Walsh on September 7 at Foxwoods?
First off, I just want to say thank you for having me. Um, but training is going good. I'm training down at Big Six in Providence with Dr. Estrada, Alejandro Paulino, who's also fighting on the card,
Right.
and I like Elijah Biexo. Training with them. Training has been going good. This is my first time actually getting a full camp in with them.
Mhm.
I've trained with them because we were all on the Boston Butchers together.
Right.
And we built that bond together, and so we just decided I decided to go train down there with them. And it's been good. It's been great.
Yeah,
Can't
awesome.
complain.
So are you living out there just for for the training camp?
No, 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 no. I'm traveling over there for about
Yeah.
45 to 50 minutes a day,
Oh, okay.
um,
Yeah.
there
Not too,
and back. So
yeah.
it's not a bad drive, but just traveling for now.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad you brought up the Boston Butchers because one of the observations I made is, I know you hadn't fought since November 2023,
Mhm.
but you have fought since April. You had 8 fights with the Boston Butchers. What was that experience like? It sounds like it was positive, but what was it like for you?
It was a great experience. It was a different atmosphere, different game because you only fight in one round
Right.
um to win that round for your team. So yeah, you had to have a different mentality going into that ring. Um, but it was great. Other than that, it was great.
Yeah.
I learned things on myself. And I learned I can start off quick, real quick. If I have to start off quick. Or I
Yeah.
can do what I do in the pros and take my time and open up my opponent, figure him out, and take him out in the later rounds. But
Right.
with Boston Butchers, I learned where start off quick and just keep going,
Yeah.
and it was a different training, uh, different training where you had to do for your body and mentally, uh, just to keep going quick and to have those punches going through that whole round, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. That is definitely the biggest change. It sounds like you only have 3 minutes to prove your point for the night. How do you train for something like that? Like I imagine you're doing things that are a bit more explosive. What's training like versus like when you're getting ready for a real, for not a real fight, but a big fight, where you're gonna
So
go like 8 rounds.
It's it's more drills,
Mhm.
more high intensity training. I
Yeah,
mean, even in with this 8 rounds I'm doing with Walsh, I have high intensity training, but you're preparing for quicker and
yeah,
more explosive, eh,
right,
um, in a short period of time. Um, when it comes to the 8 rounds, um, you want your explosiveness to be throughout those 8 rounds, not just one round. So that's where like the training was different. I was just training for that one round, and that's it.
yeah,
Um, other now with this, I'm training for 8 rounds, so it's a lot different. Like I can take a few rounds off, and then I'm out that what sixth round, very explosive for the
exactly.
next 2 rounds. So it's a little different.
Yeah, it's like you got to be fuel efficient, right? And every once in a while hit the pedal to the metal, and
E-
sometimes not. Yeah.
Exactly.
Given that you're both from Massachusetts and not too far away, I figured you guys were aware of each other, right, for some time as pros, given that you're also in a similar weight class, or is that the case?
Uh, I mean, I started to hear about him a few years back.
Yeah,
Um, he wasn't. I mean, no offense to him, but he didn't really stand out to me.
yeah,
And he was always in the fight at 135 or whatever it was, 130, 135, which
right.
is not my weight class.
You're a
So
featherweight,
yeah,
right?
I'm a featherweight, so I fight at 126. And
Yeah.
for this fight, I got offered it. And I said I'll come up to 130 to fight
Mhm.
him because I don't think we're in the same level. Uh, on paper, we might be a little bit, but
Right.
skill wise, experience wise, I don't think we're on the same level whatsoever. We have to find out September 7th.
Right, exactly. And that is what stands out looking at you guys on paper. And you're right. A lot of people, when they brought this fight to me and mentioned it to me, they were like, it's a 50-50 fight. And then, but looking at your records, you're 3 years younger, but you have 5 more years of experience as a pro than he does. And you've been in the ring with guys like Toka and like Elijah Pierce and Edward Vasquez. And if you followed Edward Vasquez, he had some close fights, some close losses to Raymond Ford and to Joe Cordina. So he could be a world champion at this point.
Even with Edward Vasquez, if you go back and rewatch that fight, they robbed me because
Right.
I beat him hands down.
Yeah.
And in the first round of that fight, I had him hurt. He had shaky legs, and I took my foot off the pedal.
Right.
But I was offered a few years back to fight Raymond Ford. I said yeah to that. He ran
Yeah.
from me. He didn't want to fight me. So like I said, like my experience is very different from his, from Kevin Walsh's. I give him all the respect in the world and stuff like that, but we're on two different levels.
Yeah.
When it comes to the boxing game, I've had over 130 amateur fights.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, I've been in the game since I was 8 years old, so it's very different to me.
And so do you think the what would be the main difference between you guys? Would you say it's experience at this point, or is it something else?
Experience and skill wise.
Let's go.
I've seen him fight a few times. He
Hmm.
does have skill, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's nowhere near on my level, especially when I'm on my A game. When I'm out on my A game, yeah, he might be, but when I'm on my A game, he ain't
Yeah.
got nothing for me. Especially if you look at his opponents that he's fought in the professionals, he hasn't fought a soul. He hasn't fought anybody. Like you said, I've been in there, Elijah Pierce, Choker
Yeah.
Khan, Edward. Even Toka Khan alone blows all his opponents out the water. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's very different.
Would you say that for your career thus far, has it been more like hot and cold? I know, I did watch an interview where you were saying you had a rough 2019, and I know that was a year where you had two of those losses. Um, is that due to more like out of the ring issues, or like is it more like just being able to focus solely on boxing?
No, yeah, it had to do a lot with outside the ring
Yeah.
things, life, and being young and dumb. That's pretty much what it was. And I was going through a lot of things. I wasn't there mentally,
Yeah.
and I was trying to push through it, and I just couldn't.
Right. Well, the good thing is you're only 28 years old, right? And so if you're fully focused, which it sounds like you are these days, and for the long haul, then there's your whole career is ahead of you still, right? And I hope you feel that way.
No, 1,000%. Like I said, I'm in my prime right now.
Yeah.
I'm 28. I'm 28 years old. I literally just hit my prime. So I have say 4 more years in my prime, but I think I have about another 6, 7 years in professional boxing.
Yeah. And it all seems to be, looking at guys like Bernard Hopkins and others who have had that longevity, and I think there's more and more of them these days. It is all about how you take care of yourself at this age when you feel at your best, and then as you get older and you don't feel as your best, just naturally. But as long as you preserved yourself, there's going to be a lot more of you or more in the tank, right? When you talk about
Exactly. You just gotta take care of yourself,
longevity.
eat correctly, do the right things, and you
Exactly.
never know. Maybe I got another 10 more years, but you never know.
Yeah, and you don't want to overdo it either, right? You don't want to be too old in the game.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah. And so, as I was thinking about your fight, when two British guys fight, and the Brits have been so sort of popular these days, they call them like domestic fights, but those tend to be like really good ones, really intense fights because it's kind of a turf war. And that's kind of the sense I get from this fight, because you're both from Massachusetts and it's appropriate that a New England title is on the line. What do you think a win over Kevin does for you?
I mean, just puts me back into the spot where I should have been years ago. Fighting for titles that actually mean something. No
Yeah,
offense to the New England title, but
sure, sure.
titles that actually get you ranked and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Put me back in the ranks for that. Focus on that. Um, and it just goes to show that coming out of New England, I'm still the best 126, 130 pounder there is.
yeah,
And this will be my first fight at 130. Um, and in my professional career, um, if if you don't take the if you take the team combat league out of it, in
right.
my professional career, this would be my first at 130. But like I was telling my dad and my trainer, after this fight, I'm going back down to
Oh,
126.
okay.
Like,
I was gonna ask you that. Yeah.
yeah, I'm saying at 126. I don't want to fight at 130.
Mhm.
I'm making an exception for this because I don't know this guy Kevin. Like I said, I give him respect and stuff like that, but he walks around like he's the best 130 pounder, 135 pounder in New England, and that's just not the case. Especially, well, we'll find out September 7th for 130. I think 126, 130. I think I got that unlocked. 135. You got Alejandro Paulino. Well,
Right.
you got Jermaine Ortiz if he wants to go back down to 135. You know,
Right.
like, and he thinks he's the best one in New England. So I'm just here to prove that he's not.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, One thing that I wanted to ask you about this fight is if you know he's an undefeated guy, right? I think 16-0.
13-0. He's
13-0,
13-0.
13-0 with 6 knockouts. What would this be the biggest win of your pro career? Would you consider it, or is there another guy? Because I do have one in mind, but I wanted to see what you think.
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah. So the guy that I was thinking about, you fought Carlos Ramos, who's 9-0, who was 9-0 when you guys met. You were 10-0.
Oh yeah. From
Yeah,
Spain.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Would you consider that your biggest win, or
I mean, yeah, by looking at paper, definitely. Like I said, I really couldn't tell you who would be my biggest one. Um, but like I said in the beginning, if you look at paperwork, look at the
right?
paper. If you look at him, yes, he
Yeah,
might be
yeah,
13.
right. Yeah,
He might be 13-0, but he's fought all cab drivers. He hasn't fought real fighters. Um, he's fighting a real fighter this time. So if I do beat him, like I just don't see it being a big win. You know what I'm saying?
right, right. And I think from his perspective, yeah, you would be, the biggest win of his career. Just
Or
like you said, looking
yeah,
at his record.
if he was to win now, this would definitely be the biggest career
Right.
win of his career.
Yeah.
But that won't be the case.
No.
Like I said, he's from Brockton, Mass. Too.
Right. Right.
I'm from Worcester, Mass.
Yeah.
Um, we're the second biggest city in Massachusetts, so I just got to show them that like Massachusetts really comes to fight. You know, Worcester
Definitely.
really comes to fight.
Um, so Irvin, taking a step back into your past, how old were you when you got into boxing, and how did you get into it?
I was 8 years old when I got into boxing. I got into it because my dad was a boxer. My dad, my grandfathers were boxers. And I was always begging my dad to bring me to the gym with him. Never wanted me to go with him to the gym. He didn't want me to train. He didn't want me to do any of that. He taught me how to throw punches. He taught me how to box at
Awesome.
home, but he didn't want me to box because he knows it was a danger. It's a dangerous sport, and
Yeah.
he wanted me to do something else. But at 8 years old, I finally broke him, and he brought me to the gym. I never left.
Yeah. Yeah. So you couldn't imagine like really doing anything else as far as your prime career, right? Your main career.
Oh, I always knew my whole life that this is
Yeah.
what I was going to do. I mean, I played all the sports, baseball, football, basketball, everything. And I always excelled in those sports. I was always really good, always in the paper for those sports, especially
Mhm.
when I was in high school. But I just knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to box.
Yeah. And who did you look up to? Anybody? Did you watch a lot of boxing, and who did you look up to growing up?
One of my idols growing up, Alexis Aguero.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
El Flaco Explosivo.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he was
And
devastating. He was devastating.
when I was younger, I was told I fight like him. I have the same body type as him, and I love the way he's fought ever since. So, and even nowadays, I go watch some of his old fights, and I
Yeah.
I try to mimic.
You're definitely tall for a featherweight, right? 5'9". It's pretty
Yep.
tall. Yeah. So that, awesome. And you have your Puerto Rican background, right? Is that
Yes.
right? Yeah. So what are your thoughts? This is one of the things that I had just for you is what are your thoughts on Canelo versus Berlanga in a couple of weeks?
Oh, I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, yeah,
It's very cringy to me the way Berlanga's going about the fight and talking shit to Canelo and stuff like that.
yeah.
Um, I've always been a Canelo fan. I have a lot of respect for Canelo. Even when he fought Cotto and stuff like that, like I have a lot of respect for him just because the fighter who he is, where he came from. He came from nothing,
Yeah.
and he made something of himself. But Belanga's going about this like they're beefing or something like that, and he's going about it all wrong. And I just feel like Berlanga's not ready for Canelo at all right now. He's
Yeah.
not on that level. Like I said, there's levels to boxing, and Berlanga's not on Canelo's level at all. Not
Yeah, I
yet.
completely agree, man. I completely agree. I mean, he's young and he's strong, physically strong. He's got some power, but he had a bit of a gift and the curse. The fact that he knocked out 16 people in one round, and it was a great sort of storyline, and it got him some stardom. But he's nowhere near ready for this. To me, he's more ready for guys like Jaime Munguia or like even Beck the Bully, who's around
Even
his.
now, I don't even know if he's ready for Monia yet because
Yeah,
Monia can box. He
yeah,
got power. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I know he's up there, but I think they should have took a little bit more time with him because, like
yeah.
you said, 16 fights, 16 knockouts in the first round. There's not much experience there. You have
Not
16
very
rounds
much,
of
right?
experience. You know?
Right. Yeah. The other thing that he showed us is that he gets frustrated when he's in a tough fight, right? He did bite one of his opponents. He got knocked down by an Argentine fighter also. So I feel like,
Yeah.
look, we never know. He was 7 when he started boxing. So I do wonder whether his tactic here is going to be to get Canelo angry and to try to outbox him. But Canelo's hard to outbox also. He's very slick. So
That's the thing. Canelo can box, but Canelo can also sit down with you and
yeah,
trade punches with you.
yeah,
And I mean, if Canelo does trade punches with him, it might be tough because Berlanga obviously has that power behind his punches, which
yeah,
you can't sleep on him with. He's young, he's like strong, explosive. So I know Canelo's gonna be smart and probably just outbox him and
yeah.
probably end up overwhelming him eventually and stopping him.
Yeah, 'cause I feel the same way. I mean, maybe we'll be surprised, but I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Look, I really appreciate your time, man. Just 2 more questions for you. Number one is, assuming everything goes well on the 7th, what are your goals for the rest of the year and into next year?
So I definitely want to fight one more time after September 7th. Most likely November-ish. Try to get a fight around there. And then take some time off. It's been a busy year, obviously with the Team Combat League. Take some time off. Obviously be in the gym, but take some time off and get ready and see what next year brings along. By the end of next year, I definitely want to be in talks for some type of title. At 126 or even at 130. But first, I do it on 126.
That's your preference.
Um, that's my preference. Yeah, I just feel like with my length, with my power, and in that weight class, there's not a lot of people. Even at 130, there's not a lot of people that have my power. Um, so I want to do that. That's my goal for the rest of this year. Next year, I don't know. Depending on how the year goes, we'll see if I do the Team Combat League again. I
Yeah.
love that concept. I love the whole energy of the whole league. I love the whole thing. So maybe I will do that again. But just when time comes, we'll find out.
Yeah. And you guys went pretty far, man, going into the semifinals. I was there for the
Exactly.
in Philly, and I saw your win, and that was an impressive win. Despite the fact that the team lost, but you had a good performance there. And I could tell that it built some great camaraderie amongst all of you guys, both the men and the women on the team who I've spoken to have been really happy about what that was like to be part
No,
of a team.
most definitely. The whole team concept was, I loved it.
Yeah,
Like it brought me back to the amateur days when we were
yeah,
all amateurs, going to nationals and stuff like that. And the bonds I built with all the guys and even the women on the team, like we built
yeah,
bonds together that we never had before, but now we have it. So I don't know. I definitely would love to do it again.
yeah. What was cool about you guys is that most of you really were from New England versus some other teams, which I know kind of borrowed from here and there, but you guys were actually representing New England for real, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah. Awesome, man. Look, any message to the fans who are going to come out and support you on September 7th at Foxwoods?
Just come out September 7th to Foxwoods Casino and show support to us New England fighters. Um, be ready for some fireworks because the Coleman event is going to be a good one. I'm here right now.
Definitely sounds like a great one, man. I'll be watching it up close. All right, man. Thank you very much, Irvin. And best of luck on September 7th.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining me, brother.